Hey, good evening, guys. We're going to take a quick look at a couple of print and play games that I got off of, I believe it was wargamedownloads.com. I think these were maybe $2 or $3, and you have to print them out and everything yourself. One of them is called White Mountain, 8th of November of 1620. The heading up here says, "And they cried Santa Maria." So we have White Mountain, 8th November 1620, and then we have Legnano, 29th of May 1176. The periods are 500 years apart, but the basic system is the same in both games. So let's take a look at them. We'll take a look at White Mountain here first, real quick. Again, these are produced by TCS Games, and there's a number of them. Their games on wargamedownloads.com, and honestly, they're worth the money if you want to put the time and effort into playing them. But I printed it out and stapled them together. The rule book here, the rule set. It's going over setup components. Then the sequence of play. You have an activation phase. It's a chit activation game. So you have activation phase, the rally phase, and the victory check. Then it's going over movement, terrain effects, and stacking. Basic combat rules. You have a combat results table. Charges and dragoons. Leaders in combat, morale and rally, and then there's some optional rules. Looks like facing's optional, command radius of commanders, artillery. They can be these optional rules add a little bit more realism to the game, with significant variations to gameplay and the time necessary, and recommended for competitive play. So that's a quick look at the rules. Very basic, very simple, very easy to understand, but yet it still has the flavor of the period, and it's fun. I've played these a number of times. I've got more than one copy of these. Of course, when you download them, you can print out more than one copy, but I played both these games a number of times, and they're both pretty fun, and they're pretty, I wonder, yeah, that probably overlaps like this. But all right, here's the map for White Mountain. You have your red force, your white force, blue force, and red force. It looks like blue and red are two different commands on one side, and what is this, orange maybe? Yeah, orange and white are under one command on this side. So, like I said, it's an activation, so you don't know who's going to activate first, and it looks like these guys are defending this hill from these guys. Pretty and these icons and this shows you where your units start the game. This is like your at start units, and of course there's fortifications up here. The counters are pretty basic. I printed these out, and then I glued them to a piece of very, very thin, I don't even know where this came from. It ain't cereal box. It's some other little piece of cardboard I found somewhere. But it's super thin, and I glued the counters to it. And there's not that many. There's your blue leaders and units, your red leaders and units, your oranges and your whites, and a turn marker, a bunch of blank markers. Then there's a bunch of status markers, route. Then there's some artillery markers, some more route and disorder markers. And that's it. That's basically it to the game. You have to cut these out. I mean, I had another copy of this where, of course, I cut these out and actually played the game. But this is just a copy that I don't know. I collect these damn things for some reason. But let's look at Legnano. It's more or less along the same lines as White Mountain. Going over components, sequence of play. Again, there's an activation phase, rally and victory check. Then it goes over movement, the combat, morale and rally. Optional rules, again, they're about the same. Command radius, facings, charges. Well, charges is an optional rule in here. And then here you have a combat results table. This must have been one of their earlier games. The production quality is not as good as the first, as White Mountain, the first one we looked at. But let's look at the map. The map again will have your starting locations for your different factions. You have a red, a light blue, and a dark blue on one side. Maybe that's dark. That's dark red. That's darker red than that. And then over on this side, you have green, bright red, and yellow. And it's more or less an open plain. I don't see any battles getting up here into these woods, to be honest with you. Everything's going to take place right here in the middle. And the counters are a little bit smaller than White Mountains, and this is like a piece of. This is even thinner than the. I don't even know what that's from either. Like it's like a piece of cardstock I got somewhere, I guess, but it must have been like a piece of a liner of a box or something. But anyway, here's a look at the counters, and again, they're color coded for their faction. Here's your leader. These are probably the counters that you pick out of the bowl or the cup or whatever you're picking your activation chits out of. And those names will coincide with these leaders. Where are they at? They'll coincide with those leaders. They should have color coded those. There's the rest of the counters. And then again, you get a bunch of disorganized and routed what do you call them? Tokens that represent, your conditional tokens, condition tokens. But these are in, I believe this is Italian. So, yeah, Turno, that's Italian. That means turn in English. And that's a look at the counters. And that was Medieval Battles Legnano. Nice little game. I actually played Legnano more than I did White Mountain. It's just easier, simpler, a little bit maybe. This game here, what is this? It's part of the 30 Years' War. Okay. This is a medieval battle. This is a part of the 30 Years' War. But anyway, both of these games can be purchased from wargamedownloads.com for a couple, $3. And it's well worth the money. They're well worth the money if you just want to take the time to mount the counters. You don't really have to mount them. I guess you can print them off on paper and cut them out and use them like that. But you know what? I've done that before, and it sucks. You're better off just gluing them to a piece of cereal box and cutting them out. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good night.